These slides are really lifted or highly leveraged from slides that Patrick Stanko has had. Patrick was a previous co-chair and still very active with the Green Twig, but I'll present for him. The good news is there's very little change in the taxonomy from before. I'll point out the few differences. Bad news, it's we need a new taxonomy to reflect the new and different storage systems that are starting to exist. You know, software-defined storage servers, converge, hyperconverge, and all that. But that's coming in version 4. So I'll run through this pretty quickly. Some of these are just, you know, our initial thinking of why we needed a taxonomy to begin with from years ago. But you know, the basic reason for taxonomy is we needed to classify, put them into ordered categories, and you know, we considered many ways of classifying storage, and we're revisiting that now for the next new taxonomy. But you know, the type of media used, the IDC price bands, required power, performance, etc. All those things were considered in the past to create the current taxonomy. You know, just like in a car, an Energy Star for a car, you had to be able to compare or classify trucks versus, say, compact cars, just like we have to storage, be able to classify different types of storage, like online or tape library. And you know, for a car, we had to, you know, miles per gallon are important, and different categories would be a commuter car versus, you know, a sporty car, and so on. And so this is just stuff we considered in the past that's still relevant now as we reconsider. This was presented a little while ago in the overview, and I'll use it again to just highlight what's new and different in version 3.0.1 versus the previous release of Emerald. We still have the online, near online, removable library, and the virtual media library categories, but we removed the adjunct and the interconnect element types of categories because, again, they really are not relevant and have not been used. And again, to point out, block and file fall under online and near online categories. And I'll run quickly through some of these other ones. Oops, just a sec, I'll expand this. Yeah, there we go. We broke the various categories, you know, the online, near online, and such, into classifications. And these are the things we've considered to put them into classifications like low, medium, high types of systems. And they really are, it's really done by considering size and added power requirements as we go up the scale of from low to higher classifications of the different categories. We broke them into 6 classifications. Again, they started with the smaller systems. The smallest ones we classified as 1 and worked up to the largest systems. We classified that as 6. And we tried to keep, to a large extent, we kept it consistent across the categories, but in some instances we didn't have specific classes, as pointed out here for near online or removable media, virtual library. We didn't have a class 4, just didn't fit in properly. And we, in the new spec, we did added some clarification as far as the taxonomy rules, and really comes down to, yeah, you had to be considered a particular category and a designated classification. You had to satisfy all the attributes, the ones that are required or prohibited, and boils down to also if you have a particular storage system which satisfies the attributes or characteristics of several classifications, you can consider you maybe you have a choice. You can consider it to be in any one or all of the classifications it meets the requirements of. So that's, I think we just try to make that a little more clear in the current spec, but it's kind of wordy. And this is how we broke them down from Online 1 to Online 6. As Don just mentioned, the ones that are relevant for the current Energy Star are just Online 2, 3, and 4, kind of the middle of the range. Online 1s is just small consumer products. Online 2, that's the beginning of a small storage system. Generally, they're JBODs, but if you add a very small controller to it, which Energy Star requires, then you can also be within Online 2. Online 3, there's an awful lot of Online 3 storage systems where typically it's an integrated controller, and these begin to have some of the better attributes like storage protection. Online 4 is also a big part of the market. They're somewhat larger, and they require no particular single point of failure. And get over that by having dual controllers and dual power supplies and so on. Online 5 starts getting very large, and Online 6 is super large, and they're just a mainframe of which are just a few manufacturers of. Again, Online 2, 3, and 4 are relevant for Energy Star. And this is the table that's in the spec. Only thing that's really changed for this particular online type of product is we've added stable storage support, which I commented on earlier as an added definition that's required of at least Online 3 and 4. Online 2, it's optional unless required by protocol. And that's about it. I think, again, the good news is there's very little change from the previous taxonomy definition. And like I said, the bad news is we really do need to work on an upgraded version to reflect the more recent storage systems that are coming into play. So if there's any questions.
Herb, you want to go back to the last slide?
Sure.
So, in the Online 2 classification there, the only difference between our Online 2 and the Online 2 that Energy Star has is in the storage protection category. That one, yeah, that one. That's the difference between our requirements and the requirements in Energy Star. Energy Star actually requires storage protection in their Online 2 category. Just for clarification.
Yep, and that's clarified in the Energy Star test method.
Right. So.
There's a question came in. I don't know if this was already answered, but it says, does EPA pick up that the added requirements for Online 2, 3, and 4 taxonomies? I don't know what that was in response to. Does EPA pick up that?
I believe EPA uses all of these requirements right here. The only difference being in the Online 2 they've added storage protection. Other than that, their requirements are identical.
Correct. We actually reference these tables directly in our specification.